You think Italian grandmothers spent Sundays gossiping over espresso and playing scopa? Think again. These nonnas, tiny women in black dresses and bedroom slippers, turned kitchens the size of a confessional into erupting volcanoes of flavor that fed 30 people before anyone bothered to set the table. From pots of ragu that simmered longer than the priest's sermon, to trays of lasagna that needed architectural permits, these aren't TikTok fantasies. These are the real, loud, chaotic, garlic-drenched dinners that generations of Italian families fought over every Sunday, Saint's Day, birthday, or because it's Sunday. So grab a fork, kiss your fingertips, and let's walk back into those tomato-stained, basil-scented kitchens for 20 dinners your nonna probably made the day you were baptized. Ragu Napoletano, Neapolitan Sunday sauce. It started Saturday night and didn't shut up until Wednesday. Nonna dragged out the 30-liter copper pot that lived under the bed, browned massive beef braciole, rolled with parsley and pecorino, pork ribs, involtini, meatballs the size of tangerines, whole Luganega sausages, and, if the butcher owed her a favor, a pig's foot or a piece of catena for silky body. In went 3 liters of her own canned San Marzano tomatoes, a whole onion studded with cloves, a carrot for sweetness, and entire handfuls of basil tied with string so she could fish them out later. The lid went on crooked so the steam could escape, and the pot lived on the back burner for 10, 12, sometimes 14 hours, burping like Vesuvius. Every hour someone, uncle, cousin, random neighbor, was ordered to gira o sugo, stir the sauce. By Sunday noon the meat was spoon tender, the sauce thick enough to plaster walls. Pasta, usually ziti or broken lasagna sheets, was boiled al dente, dressed with just enough sauce to stain it red. Then the meats came out on a separate platter like returning war heroes. Everyone got one of everything, plus bread for scarpetta until the pot shone. The leftover sauce fed the family for the entire week, on pasta, over polenta, spooned cold onto bread when no one was looking. Nonna always said the sauce on Wednesday tasted better than Sunday. She was right. Lasagna di Carnaval. Before anyone pretended to be healthy, Nonna built lasagna like the Tower of Pisa, tall, proud, and slightly dangerous. Sheets of hand-rolled pasta boiled just until flexible, then layered in a blue-rimmed roasting pan, with tiny meatballs no bigger than hazelnuts, sliced hard-boiled eggs, diced mozzarella, ricotta mixed with parsley and egg, paper-thin slices of Napoli salami, fistfuls of grated Parmigiano Reggiano, and rivers of Sunday ragu, 10, 12, sometimes 14 layers high. The top was blanketed with more ragu and cheese until it looked like a Red Sea with islands of mozzarella. Into the wood-fired oven, or the tiny electric one that groaned in protest, until the corners blackened and the center bubbled like lava hot. When it came out, the house shook with applause. It rested exactly 7 minutes. Nonna timed it with the rosary, then was cut into slabs the size of house bricks. The burnt corner pieces were currency. Cousins bribed, threatened, and sweet-talked for them. Seconds were mandatory, thirds encouraged. Leftovers were sliced cold for Monday breakfast, and nobody judged you. Polpette al sugo, meatballs and tomato sauce. Nonna never wrote anything down. She just tasted. Stale bread soaked in milk until mushy, mixed with ground beef and pork straight from the butcher who still owed her money, a snowstorm of Parmigiano, 2 eggs, handfuls of chopped parsley, garlic so fine it dissolved, salt, pepper, and, if we were in Sicily, a surprise handful of raisins and pine nuts that made the meatballs sweet inside. Rolled between wet palms into spheres bigger than golf balls, gently browned in olive oil, then slipped into the simmering ragu to finish cooking and give their life to the sauce. They swelled, drinking tomato like sponges, served as secondo with a little sauce and bread or, secretly, eaten straight from the pot with a fork while Nonna pretended not to see. The trick was the double cook. Sear for flavor, poach for tenderness. Every meatball was different because every handful of filling was different, and that was the point. You ate until you hated yourself, then ate one more per amore della nonna. Pasta al forno, the ultimate Monday resurrection of Sunday excess. Leftover anelletti, ziti, or rigatoni mixed with ragu, peas, diced caciocavallo or mozzarella, bits of ham or salami, sometimes a few spoons of bechamel if Nonna felt fancy, everything tossed together in the same blue pan that barely survived lasagna duty, topped with breadcrumbs fried golden in olive oil and another blizzard of cheese, then baked until a crust formed that you could tap with a spoon. Served barely warm or room temperature because hot pasta al forno was for people who didn't know better. Cut into perfect squares, it was the original meal prep, lunch boxes for school, midnight raids, breakfast when the bread ran out, somehow tasted better the next day. Braciole. Thin slices of beef top round are pounded until translucent, spread with a paste of parsley, garlic, pecorino, pine nuts, raisins, salt, and pepper, then rolled tight like cigars and tied with string or skewered with toothpicks. Browned in the same pot as the ragu, then left to swim for hours until the meat became silky and the filling melted into the sauce. When the braciole were fished out Sunday afternoon, the string was cut with ceremony, slices fanned on a platter like playing cards. The lucky kid who helped tie them got the first slice. The sauce they left behind was forever changed, sweeter, richer, impossible to replicate without them. Parmigiana di Melanzane, eggplant parmigiana. August meant the garden exploded with melanzane, and Nonna declared war. She sliced eggplants as thin as playing cards, salted them in a colander until they wept black tears, then fried them in olive oil so hot it screamed. Batch after batch went into the skillet until the kitchen looked like a fog bank, and every cousin had stolen at least 3 slices straight from the paper towel mountain. Then the assembly. A layer of fried eggplant, a flood of Sunday ragu, fresh basil leaves the size of your palm, thick slices of fresh mozzarella that stretched like telephone wires, and a snowstorm of grated Parmigiano Reggiano. Another layer, another flood, until the pan groaned. Into the oven, until the top blistered and the sides collapsed. It came out bubbling like lava and rested exactly 20 minutes. Nonna timed it with the Angelus bells, served barely warm because calda troppo e per americani. The corners were black and crunchy. Those were worth actual money. You ate until your shirt button surrendered, then ate one more slice because Nonna was watching. Gnocchi di patate. Potato gnocchi. Thursday was sacred. Old floury potatoes were boiled in their jackets, peeled burning hot. Nonna never waited. Riced onto the marble table still steaming. 1 egg, a whisper of salt, and just enough 00 flour to hold hands, not a gram more. She worked fast before the potatoes got gummy, rolling ropes while cousins fought over who got to cut them with the butter knife. Each piece got a flick across the back of a fork or the wooden gnocchi board she brought from the old country in 1952. Dropped by the hundreds into salted boiling water, they rose like little pillows. Sauce? Sometimes ragu, sometimes simple burro e salvia that turned brown and nutty. If one gnocchi fell apart, Nonna declared the whole batch cursed and made you start over. The lightest gnocchi floated to the top and straight into your mouth when she wasn't looking. Risotto alla Milanese. For baptisms, first communions, and when the priest came for dinner. Nonna toasted arborio rice in butter and beef marrow until every grain glowed like pearls, splashed it with dry white wine that hissed like a cat, then ladled in simmering beef broth 1 scoop at a time, stirring with the wooden spoon that had lost its handle in 1968. At the very end, she crumbled in saffron threads that cost more per gram than gold, threads she kept locked in a tiny tin like jewels. When the rice was creamy and still al dente, off the heat went a blizzard of Parmigiano and another knob of butter, served waving like the sea, golden as the sun setting over Lombardia. You waited for the onda, the wave, when she shook the pan, if it didn't ripple, back to stirring. Pollo, alla Cacciatora, hunter's chicken. A fat rooster from the neighbor's yard met its fate in Nonna's cast-iron Dutch oven, jointed, browned with garlic cloves still in their skins and a whole branch of rosemary, then drowned in white wine that evaporated into pure fragrance. In went her own tomatoes, a handful of black olives that still tasted like the tree, wild mushrooms if the cousins foraged any, and a single chili pepper for luck. Lid on, low flame, 2 hours of magic. The meat fell off the bone, the sauce turned brick red and silky, served with polenta so hot it blistered your tongue, or chunks of bread to mop the plate until it looked new again. Vitello Tonnato, cold veal in tuna sauce. Only in summer when the heat could kill a horse. A whole eye-round of veal poached gently with carrots, celery, onion, and a bottle of white wine until tender, then cooled completely, sliced paper-thin and arranged like roof tiles on the good platter. The sauce, homemade mayonnaise whipped with canned tuna, capers, anchovies, and a squeeze of lemon until it turned pale pink and dangerous. Poured over the veal and decorated with more capers and parsley. Served ice cold with a side of ensalada russa. Everyone pretended to hate the idea until the first bite, then silence except for forks scraping china. Pasta e fagioli. The Monday after Sunday cleaner, borlotti beans soaked overnight, simmered with a ham bone, carrot, onion, garlic, and rosemary until creamy. Ditalini or broken spaghetti added at the end, cooked until the starch married everything into a thick rib-sticking soup, finished with a thread of raw olive oil and cracked pepper. Eaten with a spoon in one hand and bread in the other. Nonna always said, "Chi mangia fagioli campacin anni?" Who eats beans lives 100 years. We believed her. Ossobuco alla Milanese. Veal shanks cut crosswise so the marrow showed like a coin in the center dusted in flour, browned until mahogany, then braised with white wine, tomatoes, and broth until the meat threatened to slide off the bone. Last 5 minutes, gremolata, lemon zest, garlic, parsley, sprinkled on top like green confetti. Served over risotto alla Milanese so the marrow could melt into the rice. The tiny spoons for the marrow were fought over like Olympic medals. Baccalà and Umido, stewed salt cod. 3 days of soaking, changing the water morning and night while Nonna cursed the smell. Then into the pot with onions softened in olive oil, her tomatoes, pine nuts, raisins, olives, capers, and a pinch of cinnamon. Simmered until the fish flaked into sweet, creamy chunks and the sauce turned glossy. Christmas Eve's loudest dish, sweet, salty, spicy, creamy. Bread mandatory for cleaning the plate. Arancini di riso, leftover risotto, usually from Ossobuco night, mixed with ragu and peas, rolled around a cube of mozzarella the size of a walnut, breaded twice, and fried until the outside was leopard spotted and the inside erupted with molten cheese, shaped like pears in Sicily, oranges in the East. Either way, they were hand grenades of joy. You burned your mouth every single time and never learned. Polpo in Purgatorio, spicy octopus stew. A 3-kilo octopus beaten against the marble sink 40 times to tenderize it, then simmered for 2 hours with tomatoes, garlic, chili peppers hot enough to make Nonno cry, and parsley stems. The sauce turned fiery red and clung to every tentacle. Served barely warm with bread to mop up the purgatory sauce. If you could eat this without drinking water, you were officially Italian. Torta della Nonna, grandmother's custard tart. Nonna rolled short crust so thin you could see the veins in the marble table, lined the pan, blind baked it until golden, then filled it with crema pasticcera so lemony it made your eyes water. Milk, eggs, sugar, flour, and the zest of 3 lemons from the tree on the balcony. The top crust went on like a blanket, edges crimped with the same fork she used for gnocchi, then a snowstorm of pine nuts and a dusting of powdered sugar that disappeared into the hot pastry like morning mist. Baked until the pine nuts toasted dark and the kitchen smelled like Amalfi in spring. Served barely warm with espresso strong enough to float a spoon. You ate it in silence because talking would waste valuable chewing time. The last slice always went to whoever washed the dishes without being asked. Cannoli Siciliani, shells fried on bamboo canes Nonna brought from Sicily in her suitcase, cooled until crisp enough to shatter. The filling was made at the absolute last second. Sheep's milk ricotta drained overnight, beaten silky with sugar, candied orange peel the size of confetti, tiny chocolate chips, and a whisper of cinnamon, piped into the shells so full they bulged, ends dipped in crushed pistachios or more chocolate. One bite and the shell exploded, the cream hit your tongue like cold velvet, and you understood why people cried at weddings. Broken shells were fought over like gold, because the filling was even better without the crunch. Pizza di Scarola, escarole pie. 2 discs of pizza dough stretched thin as paper. The filling, escarole blanched, squeezed dry, then sautéed with olive oil, garlic, anchovies that melted away, galleta olives, capers, pine nuts, and raisins. Piled high between the dough, sealed like a calzone, brushed with oil, and baked until the top blistered and the bottom sang when tapped. Served room temperature or cold the next day, Nonna swore it was better for breakfast than cornetto. The sweet, salty, bitter explosion made vegetarians of meat-loving uncles for one night. Struffoli. Christmas ended with an explosion. Tiny dough balls, the size of marbles fried until golden, drained, then bathed in boiling honey, scented with orange zest and a shot of strega, tossed with colored sprinkles and candied citron until they looked like a beehive that lost a fight with a rainbow, piled into a mountain on the good platter and served with a warning, "Don't touch until I take the picture." Within 5 minutes, the mountain was demolished by sticky-fingered cousins. The last struffalo stuck to the plate was worth actual tears. Zuppa Inglese, Italian trifle. Nonna's boozy masterpiece, Savoiardi or leftover pan di Spagna, soaked in alschermes, the scarlet liqueur that turned everything pink, and rum until they collapsed, layered with vanilla custard and chocolate custard she made from scratch while cursing the double boiler, topped with whipped cream and a snowfall of chocolate shavings. Served ice cold in the good crystal bowl that only came out for baptisms and funerals. You ate it with a long spoon and prayed nobody was counting. It tasted like childhood, sin, and forgiveness all at once. So yes, every single one of these 20 dinners really did appear on Italian family tables, from mountain villages in Abruzzo to basement kitchens in Brooklyn, from Buenos Aires to Melbourne, wherever a nonna could roll dough on a wooden board and yell, "A tavola, non si invecchia a tavola." Some were born in palaces, most were born in hunger, but every plate carried the same roaring message, "Mangia, your skin and bones, life is hard, but tonight we feast." If this video made you smell garlic basil and Sunday sauce through your screen, smash that like button like you're crushing tomatoes with your fist. Subscribe, ring the bell, and tell us in the comments, which dish would you sell your soul for Nonna to cook one more time? And which one would you feed to the dog when she wasn't looking? Now pour yourself a glass of homemade red, the one with the cork Nonna reused since 1972, timekeepers, because next Sunday we're bringing back even more recipes your ancestors swore were secret. Salute, chin chin, mangia.